Hey guys, I'm back for another video and welcome to 30Virus Rounds. And today we're talking about SkyBlock again. I'm sorry, I know I've done like 2 of these already, but you know what? SkyBlock's a game I'm passionate about and it's got a lot of problems, so here we are. Anyways, today I'm going to be talking about an experience that I've had over the past 2 months involving my hardcore profile. And honestly, it's opened my eyes to just how broken this game's economy is. So for those of you that don't know, somehow, I am doing a hardcore Iron Man challenge right now for Hypixel SkyBlock, which basically means that I cannot die, but that's not the important part. It's the Iron Man part that matters here. I am not allowed to interact with other players, which means I cannot buy or sell items on the auction house or the bazaar. So anyway, 2 months ago I started my Iron Man challenge. I'm not allowed to interact with any other players, so I can't really interact with the economy at all. Okay, bro, what is your plan? Oh my god. Hold on, we gotta get rid of this guy first before I can actually get into the topic of this friggin' video, because you are another TNT! Oh my god. Oh my god. It didn't even land on the bed. No! Go away! Get out. Oh my god. Swear to god, Red, don't even think. What? Wait, you want to freaking die too? No. Goodbye. Now can I start my freaking commentary? There's only 2 bets left. What the hell? So the reason why I started my hardcore profile was because I was struggling to have fun on the solo, which for those of you that have been around would know that was my main profile for quite some time. I got bored because all the updates in this game have been centered around dungeons, which is a system that I personally do not like. And to be honest, even if I like dungeons, not a lot of that sort of content can make it into videos because I just talk about the new gear, maybe run 1 or 2 runs of each floor dungeons. That doesn't work for a daily upload channel, and the staff know this. It's actually kind of funny. I've had conversations with staff, and they're basically like, yeah, we understand it's not really a YouTubeable game, we're working on that. And I straight up told them, I'm like, I get that, like, this game is meant to be good for the players, so if you gotta make content that's for the players and not YouTubers, that's fine. But the problem that I have is with the audience. I can't freaking move game modes, dude, because that's all they watch. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. So when I started my hardcore profile, because I was getting bored of dungeons, I made a discovery, right? Not only is dungeons bringing the game further away from what I thought was a good time, but the economy itself is dying because of the bazaar and the auction house and late game players grinding the game with maxed out gear and then selling their leftover drops and contributing to the economy for much more early game players to buy these drops. So what do I mean by that? Well, when playing on a new profile, I discovered that the early and mid game is the most entertaining part of SkyBlock, right? And not buying or selling items in the bazaar extends the early and mid game. That makes sense because I have to grind for everything manually. So why is this a problem? Well, SkyBlock's economy has a tendency for the absolute best items in the game to explode in value. Like, I'm talking 10, 20 times what their value is supposed to be. And then basically anything that's not the best drops to near nothing in value. And that's because of people that are stupid and they just are like, oh, this is the best thing, I need to buy the best thing even if it's 2% better, and they spend their entire life savings on it. So that's annoying. And honestly, I think this whole problem is really the community's fault. The game itself, everything should work on paper, but the way that the community treats coins and items is really annoying. And I think even though the problem isn't technically the devs' fault, the devs probably should do something to address it. But anyway, because of the community's tendency to buy the absolute best thing and ignore everything else, it means every time there's an update and they add really good gear to the game, everybody scrambles to buy it with their hard-earned money. And yeah, so they just scramble to get coins just to afford buying the best gear in the game instead of getting the drops themselves. This is where the biggest problem in SkyBlock lies. It's because, right, instead of playing the game as intended, actually going into dungeons, defeating the bosses, leveling up your skills, or if it's with something in the base game, like getting a talisman, for example, people don't go for the collections and craft the thing. They use coins. They purchase valuable items with coins. Now, what is the problem with this necessarily? Well, it makes the game boring. Because why would you bother getting, for example, putting down, I don't know, a, oh, you are very late to this. Yeah, no, you're gone. Boom. Yeah, since there's an army of idiots spending their life savings on skipping the entire game's progression with endgame gear, there's a demand for people to become as efficient as possible at grinding the endgame and immediately selling their drops. Because it's a money-making method. You know, people are obsessed with money-making methods because everything's centered around freaking coins. Oh my god, the diagonal rush. Are you kidding? Are you serious? Oh my god. So anyway, when people get to this, quote, peak efficiency, right, at getting endgame gear, what ends up happening is, instead of getting, you know, the rare RNG drops that they're looking for, I mean, they might get those drops, but, like, on top of that, they get a lot of drops like, you know, rotten flesh, if they're grinding zombies, string, if they're doing tarantulas, whatever, right? They get a lot of drops in addition to their RNG drops that are worth the big money. And they sell these things on the bazaar. Now, this has a disastrous effect on the economy for several reasons. So, let's say you are early game and you are getting into fishing, right? You want to make a sea creature artifact, or maybe you want to get a bait ring. It takes a lot of time to grind for these items. Instead of grinding for these items, people purchase either the materials to craft it or the items straight from the bazaar. And of course, it's another money-making method for people to craft these endgame items if they have the recipe, and then immediately flipping it on the auction house. This is a problem because for someone that's in the early game, for example, right, you know, it would take many hours of effort to craft something like, for example, a bait ring. But someone that's late game, they have all the best gear. They have either a diver set or a tiger set, I think, or not tiger set, what's it called? The shark set? They have a shark set. They have maxed out sea creature chance. They have, like, the best bait. They have the best fishing pet. They got everything, right? And they're grinding for these either pet drops or just, you know, fishing gear in general because it sells good on the bazaar. When someone that's early game purchases something from the bazaar supplied by these end game players, they are inheriting all the buffs that come with that end game player's gear. So essentially, by purchasing from the bazaar, you are skipping the game's progression because you don't need to have the most efficient setup, right, for fishing. You could just buy everything off bazaar from somebody that does have the max fishing gear. You see where the problem is? You just absolutely skip the early game. This is why the early game does not exist in Hypixel SkyBlock, and especially the mid game. There is absolutely no mid game. Like, you can make the case that early game is maybe like the first few days of gameplay, but then, like, goodbye. But yeah, since these endgame players are so much more efficient than low level players, they flood the market with these items, and it basically makes them worthless. So I think the first problem with the Hypixel SkyBlock economy is the ease of access that early game players have to the gear collected by endgame players. There is absolutely, you would be considered stupid in the early game to actually grind out anything manually. Unless you're doing a challenge, obviously. But, like, otherwise, what are you doing? Just go to the bazaar and spend, like, 1 hour's worth of work for example, harvesting sugarcane, right? I mean, farming is one of the most consistent and easy ways to make money. Why spend 20 hours grinding to get yourself, I don't know, a tree capitator, right? Just kill obsidian defenders over and over and over again for hours and hours. Or you can just purchase the obsidian from the bazaar. Or even better, you know, what if you don't have the recipe, right? You just go on the auction house, and the place is flooded with tree capitators, because the people that craft them know that there are people that don't have the recipe for tree capitator and they want to purchase it. And there's no skill requirements to use the tree cap. Ooh. But they know that there's people that want to be able to use the tree capitator without crafting one. So they're all over the place in the auction house. They cost near nothing. 2 million coins? I mean, bro, that's like 3 hours of farming sugarcane. And you have a tree capitator that would take 20 hours of work otherwise. So that's the first problem I have with SkyBlock. Oh, he must be salty. He didn't even get to fight me, dude. He's dead. Why would you spend 20 hours with a jungle axe in the park for a wooden singularity when you could just spend an hour farming sugarcane, sell it, and then buy the wood from the bazaar to craft the wooden singularity? Like, there's literally no reason not to do that. Like, it's stupid. Thank you, spawn protection, for that. Oh, we're good. The most extreme example of this happening is with the scythe blade, right? At its peak, the Reaper scythe was worth like 100 million coins. Like, I remember distinctly back when Peggle made his video on it. Why? Because of the insane value of the scythe blade, there were hundreds, thousands of players grinding revs trying to get it so that they could sell in the auction house. And, you know, between the updates and added magic find and more reasons to do Slayer, people, you know, ran the price down so far that a scythe blade is worth like 2 mil. Oh, what was that? What? Where are you? Get out of here, dude. Oh yeah, all dragon armors are not even worth the summoning eyes used to friggin' get them unless it is superior. Like, superior is the only exception. Every other dragon is either going to be a deficit or you're gonna break even. Like with strong and young, I think you break even. The rest of them, you lose money. Like, bruh. I mean, that's been a thing for a while, and that's because these people do hundreds of dragons per day, right? And when the early game players have absolutely no chance to even get summoning eyes, first of all, because of people in the late game just absolutely dominating the market. All right, here we go. There we go. And you're dead. No, you're not. Yes, you are. Yeah, early game SkyBlock used to be great because not only did you have to work for your gear, but the grind for each item was different. But now, early game items are near worthless, and someone who spends a few hours farming sugarcane can avoid all their gear in no time at all. Like in my accessory guide video, I discovered that the first 65 talismans and upgrades cost less than 1 million coins each, and half of them aren't even worth 100,000 coins. That blew my mind, dude. And then, right, you have something that comes out like the Bonzo staff, which like, you know, in the days after it was released, 25 million coins. What would you rather have? Like almost every talisman in the game, or a stick that shoots exploding balloons? Like, the economy is destroyed. And I don't, you know, the macroing and the hacking and like scammers and everything has probably contributed to inflation quite a bit, and dungeons compounded the problem by adding new gear that completely overshadows the other gear in this game. For example, right, the Bonzo staff. I keep going back to the Bonzo staff. It was worth 25 mil, but now it is worth 2 mil. And why is that? Because the next floor after well, I think it's 2 floors after, they released the Spirit Scepter, which is basically a better Bonzo staff. It does the same thing. It shoots an explosive projectile that, well, it explodes on contact. So the Bonzo staff was immediately made obsolete. All the people that spent 25 million coins on it are screwed now because their investment is now worth 10 times less what it was worth because of this new thing that came out. It's similar to, in real life, I experienced this when I bought myself a GTX 2080 Ti from Nvidia, and then a few months later they screwed me and probably over 1 million people over by releasing the 30 series cards, which a card that's worth half as much does the same amount, it has the same amount of performance. So, you know, that's literally what the SkyBlock dev team has done with the Spirit Scepter, and that sucks. That really sucks, you know. And it burned me out, dude. It burns out a lot of people, dude, when they invest so much money into something they thought was going to last them for months and months, and it just doesn't because it was overshadowed by something else. Oh, you don't even have prot, dude. What are you doing? So yeah, even though I wasn't too excited about dungeons, I was like, you know what? I want to at least catch up. I want to at least be able to participate. Even though I don't like the game mode, even though I don't like dungeons, at least I can, you know, get some of the gear, pump out a few videos. Once I get bored of it, I stop. But, you know, that's what I did. I got a Bonzo staff so that I could, you know, keep up with the people that are doing dungeons. That cost 25 million coins, aka like 20 hours worth of gameplay in items, just so I can catch up with people. I thought it was a huge investment. It was, you know, it was a lot of money, but at least I can make that money back by running dungeons. Turns out, no. Oh, get wrecked, dude. The problem gets even worse when you look at the current best gear. Getting what is now considered the best archer setup, which, by the way, archer's the worst class in dungeons by far. Getting the best archer class costs 80 million coins. That's 80 hours of work just to be like keeping up with the top players. And you know what? In a month, that's going to be completely obsolete. There's going to be something else that's added to the game, and it's better. And those 80 hours of work are worthless. And you try and sell it back, you get back maybe 10 million coins, 20 million if you're lucky. Players are obsessed with becoming the best, and because of it, progression in the early and mid game feels like nothing, and getting to the top is near impossible. There's this little void that I operate with in the middle, where at one point before dungeons I was pretty much maxed. You know, I was having a good time, I had all the best gear, or at least most of the best gear. But now, right, to become the best, you need to spend, I would say, a good 500 million coins on gear. First of all, recombobulators. What the hell? 5 million coins to upgrade the rarity of an item? Are you high? For those of you that don't understand why that's a problem, a Reforge upgrade is pretty good, but it's not 10 million coins good. The NPC price is 500 or 5 mil, right? You can buy it from dungeons for that much. Uh-oh. Oh my god. Ah, I'm bad. Here's my thought, right? Something like a recombobulator should have cost like 500k to a mil. Like, because even then, right, there's people that dream of recombobulating their entire accessory bag so they get more reforges from other talismans. But that is unrealistic, dude. Oh, you have an iron sword. That's not happening. But like, it would cost like 200 million or more just to fully upgrade your talisman bag. And if it was 500k to a mil, I mean, yeah, it'd still be expensive. It'd be like 50 something mil to get like full recommed talismans. But I don't know, dude. Another problem I have with the endgame is that the devs are not doing anything to help with this obsession with being the best. They are pricing things according to the inflated prices that players are setting for all of these items. Like, it's not realistic for a recom to be worth 5 mil. And the only reason why they set that is because they're like, oh, people are paying that much for top gear. But it's only because it's the top gear. If you go one tier down, people are paying 2 million coins for a Bonzo staff. And you're telling me that upgrading the rarity of your Bonzo staff costs 5 times the amount of getting the Bonzo staff? No! No, That's ridiculous. As much as this is a community problem, the staff are doing nothing to help it. And it's resulting in the game becoming pretty much impossible for the casual player. And it's just not fun for the people that want to grind it out, because I'm going to be honest with you, Dungeons is not fun. It's just, it's like a little better than Slayer, but you know what? You feel like you're accomplishing nothing, so I have no reason to want to play it, alright? Now, I know that's an extreme opinion. Some people like Dungeons, and I'm okay with that. That's cool. But it just, everything is so expensive. It's just not possible to casually play SkyBlock. It just isn't. So most endgame players nowadays have to either spend all day grinding dungeons and selling their drops for massively inflated prices, or they didn't invest in dungeons like me, and they end up spending their hard-earned coins on what they think is high-level gear, only for it to get, you know, completely overshadowed in like a week, and you get screwed because you can't even keep up with the higher level dungeons, like, at all. It is as if the devs are just promoting this behavior, dude, and it really, it makes me sad, dude. I loved SkyBlock. There's a little glimmer of hope. They said that after floors 6 and 7, they're gonna work on islands and stuff, which is cool, but I don't know if that might be too late, dude. There's so many people that are just not interested in the late game anymore. I mean, sure, the SkyBlock game mode is bigger than ever, but that is because there are so many new people starting out, and they don't have to deal with these problems. And right now, the only people that are really having a good time in SkyBlock right now are the ones that went full on into dungeons. It's a personal opinion whether or not you enjoy dungeons, and for the people that don't, they are screwed. They basically have no choice but to either quit SkyBlock or just buy everything from the AH, which doesn't even work because of skill requirements. I gotta stop ranting about dungeons. It's gonna get people pissed, just like when I talked about 1.9 PvP in Minecraft. But yeah, you know, with the recombobulator, this is my last point on that, right? It would have been so much more interesting if they made them worth 500k. Here's why, right? There could be new meta. Like, there's items that are pretty much worthless right now in the current meta of SkyBlock, but imagine how interesting it would be if applying a recombobulator to, for example, mushroom set, right? You get an uncommon mushroom set, which triples the reforge when it's night. How interesting would that be to, you know, have a tripled uncommon rarity reforge? That'd be kind of neat. That could actually become meta for a little bit, you know? And it'd be an interesting take on the whole, you know, recombobulator thing. But that is never going to happen, because only a madman would spend 40 million coins recombobulating a set that's worth nothing. And it sucks the fun out of the game too. Like, it is dumb to use a recombobulator. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, if you're like a regular old player, okay, bro, you need to not do that. If you're just a regular old dude, there's no reason to use a recombobulator at all. So anyway, what's the takeaway here? Why am I even making this video other than to complain? This is a rant. This is not complaining. This is presenting a solution to what I see as a big problem with this game mode right now. Well, I think there needs to be less of high-level players collecting things and... oh. No. But anyway, the SkyBlock economy is rotting from the inside out, and it's becoming harder and harder to enjoy it outside of Iron Man Challenge. You had to pick. Skill and collection requirements, dude. Honestly, at this point, we need to add skill or collection requirements to everything in the game, because these high-level players just collecting stuff and then immediately selling it to the lower-level players needs to stop. SkyBlock... honestly, there's no way you're going to be able to rip off this band-aid, but SkyBlock is more fun without Bazaar and the auction house. It just is. But, you know, there's some ways that I think this could be mitigated. Like, you know that stupid 777 skill requirement for accessing the Bazaar? Why not change the system, right? What if you want to buy mass amounts of rotten flesh from the Bazaar? What if, in order to do that, you have to first get Rotten Flesh Collection 8, and then you'll be able to buy and sell rotten flesh in the Bazaar? Until then, you can't, all right? Because you're skipping so much of the game by purchasing these things from Bazaar. And the equipment, for example, bait ring, you shouldn't even be able to use the bait ring until you unlock the collection for it. This should be obvious. But right now, there's people skipping all the progression in this entire game And they think it's like, oh, this is going to be fun. I want to skip early game because I want to be the best. But little did they know they just screwed themselves over. It's like going into creative mode in Minecraft. You think, oh, I'm going to be so overpowered and I'll be able to have so much fun. And then within a half an hour, the game gets boring. There's way too much of a focus on coins. A coin economy is damaging for this game. And honestly, I think the game would be better off if there just wasn't. You know, if there just wasn't a player economy. But again, that band-aid is not going to be ripped off. There's no way. So the best we can do right now is just make it so that people have more fun in this game by having to do everything themselves instead of just spending like 20 hours farming sugarcane and getting all the early game stuff immediately, because that is not fun. That is not entertaining. It's a chore to get to what people think is more fun parts of this game, but it's not, because the early game is the most fun of SkyBlock and the end game just gets worse, especially because of dungeons. Oh, and you know, I think dungeon stuff needs to not be so freaking expensive, and somehow the community needs to stop being so obsessive over the best gear in this game as opposed to the second best gear in this game. I don't know how the devs are going to fix that, because that's really just a mentality thing. Maybe higher skill requirements. I don't freaking know. I just fell in the void. That's it for my rant. I'm feeling very strongly about this one, dude, because I'm just watching this thing that I love slowly just rot, because the community has such a screwed mindset. That's the thing. People don't know what they want. They actually don't know what they want. They think that skipping the entire game is fun. It's not fun. You might as well not even be playing the game if you're just skipping all the progression by just grinding coins or IRL trading coins or buying coins. I guess that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Like, bro, if someone in Fallout New Vegas, if you were able to pay $5 to just go straight to Hoover Dam and fight Leggett Lanius, you know, and then just win the game, would you do that? Pay $5 to only have 30 minutes worth of gameplay? I don't think so.